My husband, Benjamin, and I were high school classmates. Our relationship started during a school trip in our sophomore year. I had a dream. It was to become a doctor. At that time, Benjamin had a dream too. It was to become a lawyer. We both pursued our dreams, getting into our respective universities. It seemed like we were both smoothly on our way to achieving our goals, but Benjamin failed the bar exam 5 times in a row. After that, Benjamin started working in sales at a general company. On the other hand, after 6 years of university and a 2-year training period, I successfully became an OB-GYN. Liz, you've finally become the doctor you wanted to be. Congratulations. Benjamin was as happy for me as if it were his own achievement. Thank you. I think it's going to get even busier from now on. I'm sorry if I have to cancel our dates more often than before. There were several times during my residency when I was called in for emergencies. Now, as a fully fledged doctor, I have to work with even more responsibility. Especially in obstetrics and gynecology, we can't schedule the birth of children to coincide with our convenience. We must be available 24/7 whenever a child decides to arrive. There's no time to worry about dates or anything else. Feeling apologetic to Benjamin, I said sorry, and then he said, "So, why don't we get married?" "Oh, marriage? Yeah. That way, we can always be together. You can go to work when you need to, and if we have kids and something urgent comes up, I'll support you." As I was surprised by the sudden proposal, he hugged me and reassured me with strong words. I remember answering, "I'd be honored," while crying. Working in obstetrics and gynecology is the only field where you can be part of the miracle of life. Of course, we also treat illnesses, but there's a joy in this field that you can't find in any other. I could say it's my true calling. Now, I'm 35 years old. I've been working as an OB-GYN for 9 years. I've been present at numerous births and have delivered many babies myself. However, Benjamin and I have been married for 7 years, and we don't have any children of our own. We both love kids and used to say we wanted many. I'll work hard at my job. Benjamin was very enthusiastic at the beginning of our marriage. But that enthusiasm has significantly faded. This is something beyond our control, so we thought it was okay, but that was no longer the case. Recently, even when we both have days off, we don't go out anywhere. Benjamin locks himself in his room, constantly doing something. At some point, he put a lock on his room and always locks it when he's inside. At the beginning of our marriage, we used to sleep together in the same bedroom happily. However, due to my job, I sometimes have to leave the house in the middle of the night. So we decided to sleep in separate bedrooms not to wake Benjamin up. Also, when I'm away for late shifts or night shifts, Benjamin comes home late. How do I know? Because we have a dog. To keep an eye on the dog at all times, we've set up a surveillance camera in the living room where the dog's cage is. The camera is set to send notifications to our phones when someone comes home, so I can tell when Benjamin gets home. Of course, Benjamin knows about the camera, and we can both access it from our phones. Then, one day, I received a notification at an unusual time when I was on a night shift. It was my night shift, but it appeared that he had returned home at the regular time. Normally, I wouldn't have thought much of it, but I felt something was off with that notification sound. Since I was on a break, I immediately checked my phone, and there I saw Benjamin and the legs of a woman wearing a skirt. What is this? I couldn't help but exclaim in the break room. The nurses around me asked what was wrong, but I just smiled and said it was nothing. After that, I started receiving more notifications of Benjamin coming home at regular times on the days I had night shifts. But whenever I check, I can only see the feet of a woman. Even if I confronted him about it, I thought Benjamin would just play dumb, so on my days off, I marked them as on duty on our wall calendar at home. And on that day, I decided to wait for Benjamin's return home with someone. That someone was Joshua, my brother. In fact, since the day after the woman came to our house, I've been having my dog stay at Joshua's place. I felt too guilty to leave it alone at home, not knowing when another woman might be brought over. After waiting in Joshua's car for 30 minutes, Benjamin returned right on time from work. There was a woman walking arm in arm with him. Seeing this, I thought I would lose my composure, but having Joshua by my side somehow helped me stay surprisingly calm. I quickly started recording a video with my phone. It's surprising, isn't he worried about the neighbors seeing? After finishing recording the two of them entering the house, Joshua made this comment. You're right. There must be neighbors seeing them for sure. It would be strange if there weren't any at this time. I had to agree. Looking around, it seemed like it was the rush hour for our neighbors returning home. Due to my irregular work hours, I hadn't paid much attention to this before. But I realized that it was indeed the usual time for people to come home. That night, I stayed at Joshua's house and fell asleep playing with my dog. The next day, I decided to visit a neighbor with whom I'm particularly close to ask about Benjamin and the woman. It turns out the neighbor had also found it suspicious and had asked about it before. He had been told that she was his sister. Neighbors who knew my brother was young believed that. Having gathered testimony from a neighbor, I was considering when to confront Benjamin about a divorce, when one morning, a familiar face appeared in my consultation room. Hello? The woman who entered with a nervous voice was unmistakably Benjamin's affair partner. I almost let out an odd sound from my mouth but managed to hold it in. Switching to professional mode, I said, "Congratulations, you're 8 weeks pregnant." Really? I'm so happy. Is it a girl or a boy? It's too early to tell the gender, but everything seems to be progressing smoothly so far. I can't wait to find out. My partner wants a girl. She lovingly stroked her belly as she spoke. And without being asked, she continued. I'm not married yet, but I'm thinking of getting married to him because of this pregnancy. I see. I responded neutrally to avoid any offense. Actually, he's only been divorced for 2 months. He says we can't get remarried until after 100 days. Is that so? Is the father of the child here at the hospital today? Yes. He's waiting in the car. She replied happily. When I suggested she bring him in because I wanted to discuss the future, so she went out with a smile to call him. 15 minutes later, after seeing another patient in the meantime, I called in the affair partner again. Sure enough, Benjamin followed her in. Benjamin began, "Excuse me, but stopped mid-sentence when his eyes met mine, still maintaining my professional smile. Why are you here, Liz? He said this while looking at the nameplate outside the consultation room and muttered, "Seriously? I work under my married name rather than my maiden name." While many female doctors continue to use their maiden names, my maiden name was very rare and difficult to pronounce. However, Benjamin's surname is the most common in America. Perhaps that's why he hadn't paid much attention to it. In the hospital where I work, it's rare, but there has never been another doctor with the same last name in the same department. And the nameplates only display last names. Seeing Benjamin's flustered look, the other woman looked puzzled. Liz refers to me, right? We came in together, so of course I'm here. Hearing this, I was dumbfounded. The other woman's name is Lizette. Indeed, Liz. Nonetheless, calling both his wife and his affair partner by the same nickname is utterly despicable. As Benjamin, cornered by the affair partner, seemed to panic, saying, "No, this is a bit," I decided to explain. "Lizette, my name is Liza. I'm also known by Liz." "What? Benny, you were cheating?" The fact that a 35-year-old man is referred to as Benny almost made me burst into laughter. "You're called Benny? And I did tell you about my workplace, right?" "No. I forgot about the workplace." Benjamin was taken aback. It seemed he had no interest in my workplace, or he hadn't listened at all. Unperturbed, the affair partner pressed Benjamin further. "Benny, who is this woman?" "No." "Well?" Benjamin was at a loss for words. Of course, he was. According to the affair partner's story, Benjamin had been divorced from me 2 months ago. Taking over from the silent Benjamin, I decided to confront the affair partner with the truth. "Lizette? I'm Benjamin's wife." "Huh? Was it a lie that you said you divorced to marry me?" That's when Benjamin spoke up. "It's not like that. Just keep quiet for now, Liz." "What are you saying? We need to clear this up. You tricked me, didn't you? Just be quiet, will you?" Benjamin seemed to be in a real panic. "Of course he does. No one could remain calm when caught lying in front of their spouse and being confronted by an affair partner. When did you start your relationship with Benjamin? About a year ago. Unlike Benjamin, the affair partner honestly answered my question. I see. So, you knew Benjamin was married and still dated him? But Benny said his wife was always cheating, and their marriage was already falling apart. Even so, being involved with a married man is a matter of compensation. I responded with a smile. But he's already divorced, so it's fine, right? We're not divorced. At this point, Benjamin tried to silence Lizette again. However, this sparked an argument in the consultation room. Several nurses noticed the argument and came into the room. To avoid disrupting the rest of the consultations, I had called security to escort the two out. That night, I arranged to meet with both of them at a cafe to discuss. Since I needed to plot an operation, I called my brother Joshua during my lunch break to share the details and have him join the evening discussion. After hearing the whole story, Joshua asked, "This might be weird to ask, but didn't you guys have kids?" Hearing that, I exclaimed, "That's it." Thank you, Joshua, and, forgetting my age, hugged him tightly, messing up his hair. This would surely be a further blow to Benjamin. Stop it. Joshua pulled away and said, "If there's anything I can do to help, just let me know," offering his support. I no longer had anything to fear. I'm about to give Benjamin and his affair partner even more punishment. That night, as I waited with Joshua in a cafe for them, they showed up and immediately said, "You're cheating too, aren't you?" Joshua then spoke up. "Long time no see, Benjamin. How have you been?" "What? You are?" "No way." "Yes. I was still in my teens when you two got married. Joshua and I are 9 years apart." It's no wonder Benjamin didn't recognize him, because he had get much more mature over the last 7 years. Furthermore, Joshua continued with a sharp gaze, "I'm here as a witness today, so please cooperate." A witness? Benjamin was dumbfounded. In fact, Joshua had become a lawyer. And not just any lawyer, but one specializing in divorce cases. Knowing Benjamin had repeatedly failed the judicial Scrivener exams, Joshua had been considerate not to bring it up. Let's get back to what we were discussing earlier. "Here, I brought this," I said. I handed over an envelope. Inside was a divorce petition already filled out. "I'm going to take this to the court, right now." "What? You're quite considerate to bring this yourself," Benjamin said with a triumphant tone, different from the morning. "And quickly accepted our divorce." Lizette was elated. In 100 days, I'll officially become the wife of a CEO. However, I immediately asked her, "Wife of a CEO? What are you talking about? He said he was the CEO of a leading company, right?" "Benny." Benjamin's eyes began to dart around. "Well, that's right." I couldn't stop laughing. Lizette looked puzzled at me, clutching my stomach in laughter. "What's so funny?" "Oh, I'm sorry. Who did you say is the CEO?" "Benjamin is just an ordinary employee. And that house is in my name. Besides, there's no waiting period for men to remarry after a divorce," I explained. Hearing this, Lizette was furious. "What? Benny, how many times do you need to deceive me before you're satisfied? I've had enough." "You mean you didn't love me? Well, I thought you were rich and owned a big house. I wouldn't fall for an old man like you otherwise." Joshua and I couldn't help but smile as we watched the two argue. This was the moment I decided to push Benjamin even further down. I smoothly handed Benjamin a document. "What's this now?" Benjamin, gruffly taking the envelope, began to tear it open. Seeing the contents, his face turned ashen. "What is this? You know that time in the past when we were both trying to get pregnant because we couldn't conceive? Here are the results. I didn't tell you because I thought you had your pride. Is this really mine?" "Yes. It seems you can't have children, but whose child is in her belly, I wonder." I confronted him with the test results we had investigated in the past. According to those results, Benjamin was infertile. I had reconsidered our situation, thinking that we could live happily together without children, so I never told Benjamin the results. Lizette began to make a scene without considering the place. I wasn't told about this. That he couldn't have children. What? It's not my child? Could the test results be a lie? To Benjamin's naively hopeful remark, Lizette continued. If you're infertile, you're not the baby's father. I wasn't sure whose child it was, so I thought I'd marry you since you seem to be rich. She said. Joshua and I were dumbfounded by her words. They continued to make a scene, so thinking of the cafe's peace, Joshua and I desperately tried to stop them, but their fervor didn't cool down. As a lawyer, Joshua began to address them both. He informed them that he would be demanding a proper compensation from both Benjamin and Lizette. Despite their protests of having no money. That was not our concern. When Joshua threatened legal action if they continued to resist, they reluctantly agreed to the payment, so we decided to proceed with the claims. The next day, I promptly submitted the divorce papers and kicked Benjamin out of the house. Afterward, incapable of managing household chores on his own and disowned by his parents, Benjamin had no choice but to marry Lizette. It seems he desperately wanted children, so he decided to raise the child of uncertain paternity as his own. Lizette probably thought it more advantageous to have him to support the child while paying the compensation together than doing it alone. Benjamin is working like a Trojan to pay off the settlements for both of them. Lizette has decided to put the child in daycare and work part-time once the baby is born. Meanwhile, I sold the house and stayed with Joshua until I found a new place. When I was about to move into my new home, Joshua expressed his wish for me to stay, but I brushed it off, joking, if I stay, you'll never get a girlfriend. Of course, I took the dog with me, and we're living together in the new house. I hope to continue being involved in the birth of many lives through my work.